Hello, viewers. Good day to each and every one of you. I'm Ron Grant, coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. A happy Saturday to each and every one of you. Thank you for joining me for this very special report. On the premise that if you are old enough to vote, you must be old enough to serve, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Amor Motley, on Monday evening signaled her intention to appoint 18-year-old former Queen's College student Khaleel Kothdiwala as a senator in the new Barbados cabinet. Once appointed, Kothdiwala would be the youngest senator in the history of Barbados. Khaleel Kothdiwala is a Barbadian student reading for a Bachelor of Laws at the University of the West Indies with a passion for people, civic and current affairs. He is a prominent national and international debater. As a student leader, he has coached his school's debating club and nurtured its members in the art of debating and public speaking, as well as attempting to meaningfully interact with all the students. Khalil, a student council member for some 7 years, most recently in the aftermath of the CXC 2020 results, emerged as a leading student advocate, giving voice to the multitudes of disadvantaged students through his representations to heads of government and CXC Council, as well as in the court of public opinion through numerous letters to the editors, interviews, television reports, and radio programs, and in addition to his behind-the-scenes strategizing. Viewers, joining me out of Barbados is Khaleel Kothdiwala, poised to be appointed the youngest senator at 18 years to the Barbadian Senate. We talk leading a generation of greatness right after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 Media.
Live stream cable TV is here with CCT Live. Access over 80 channels that you can watch either at home or when you're on the go. And don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Rewind and watch in your own time. Come to CCT today and ask about our 1-month free trial offer. CCT Live. Bring it home.
Viewers, welcome back and thank you so much for sticking with us. When the conversation of young 21st century leadership comes up, there is a name across the region that continues to ring, and that is Khaleel Kothdiwala. Khaleel, welcome to 284 Media. Happy Saturday to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ron, for having me. It's a pleasure to join you. It's a pleasure to join you today.
Absolute. Likewise. As mentioned, you are poised to be appointed to be the youngest senator in Barbados. Now, while this is the intention of Prime Minister Motley, the Parliament needs to be first constituted, both houses, and at their first sitting, they will need to make the necessary constitutional amendment, and that is to lower the age. Now, as soon as that is done, and once that amendment has passed through the process, and soon thereafter, you will then be sworn in, it is our belief, as senator. Now, I should say if the amendment passes in both houses, because while the government of the day has all seats in the lower house, they don't have a 2-to-3 majority in the Senate. Am I correct?
Yes, yeah, that is correct. So that the government will need the government needs 14 votes in the Senate to pass this amendment. But there are only about 12 government senators, one of whom is the presiding officer, so he will not be able to vote. So in total, in addition to its own members, the government will need at least 3 other votes from the senators who are either opposition senators or independent senators.
Understood. Now, Khalil, what does it even mean to you to be considered at such an extremely young age to serve as a senator?
Well, it's truly humbling. It really is truly humbling, I think, to be considered for this, what is an important legislative post and important in the life of a country. But really, Ron, I do it not for myself, not for Khaleel Kothdiwala, but really for all young people, not only in Barbados, but really across our region. For so long, so many of our young people over the years have heard that they're too young, that they have no right really to participate and to contribute. And I've spent a long time in national life in Barbados, and I have heard that quite a bit myself. And what this appointment, or proposed appointment rather, says to the public, says to the people of Barbados and the region, and indeed the world, is that young people not only have a role to play, but that they are capable and that they can be given the opportunity to be able to do it. So I don't take up this position if I do for myself, but it is to ensure that in 10 and 15 and 20 years from now, that there can be young people who don't have to have the burden of being the first or the second or the youngest or the second youngest or anything like that. That by that time it can be a normal thing for young people, people as young as myself, to represent and to be represented at the highest levels of government and governance. And so that it is for that reason that the entire thing is particularly special to me, because it is something that, and there are others who have been working in this sector in youth work for much longer than I have. And it is something that I have always been committed to. And so it is immensely gratifying that finally we have the ability to see young people. It's not only myself, I may be the youngest, but there are at least four other senators appointed by the Prime Minister who are also within the category of being young. And the final thing I will say on that is that also the government has 12 senators, and the Prime Minister has proposed that six of those senators are women, and six will be men. And so,
Wow.
apart from age, there is also gender parity, and that's really important.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I do think that in the final analysis, our regions are moving closer and closer to making sure, just like you said, not only representation of all demographics age-wise, but definitely gender equality. What are you looking forward to most, Khaleel, once appointed or elected to the post?
I'm working with, as I said, with my colleagues I really want to work with my colleagues to be able to give that youth perspective on all legislation. I hear a lot of young people and people in general sometimes not realizing the fact that our parliaments and our houses of parliament and senate and so on have a really profound impact to play in our lives, because they pass legislation that has a very, very significant impact. And to that extent, we need to have individuals represented at from different demographics who can bring their own unique experiences. But perhaps what I'm looking forward to most is that I recognize the fact that I'm one young person, and I really I'm looking forward to finding ways to meaningfully engage with other young people, so that in those engagements, I am able to inform my own contributions in the Senate if I do get there ultimately, once the arrangements are made, to be able to inform my own contributions so that when I speak, I can speak from a position of authority in terms of giving a youth perspective, because I'm not the only young person out there. There are other young
Yes.
people in Barbados, many, many young people in Barbados who are quite brilliant, and I really want to be able to tap into the brilliance of young people, and if anything, act as a conduit for that. So that if I'm in the Senate, to act as a conduit to amplify the voices of other young people.
And that was actually going to be my next question. What exactly do you, or can rather, the people of Barbados expect from you as a leader?
I've been thinking about this quite a
Mm.
bit over the last couple of days. When the Prime Minister called me on Monday, it was quite it was a surprise. I wasn't expecting it, and so I've had some time to think about it. And as I say, every sitting of the Senate, the public knows me, and they know that they can expect to see the same forthright Khaleel that they have always seen in Barbados, speaking passionately about the issues that matter, and as well the issues that are of profound importance to the lives of Barbadians, and also to issues to do with connecting our region, connecting Barbados not only to the independent countries of the region, but also because sometimes we fall down in our outreach to um, the other territories in the region, such as the British Virgin Islands. And I really
Yes.
think that to achieve this vision of one Caribbean, we have to include all. And the Virgin Islands is a very important part of this region, and we need to engage much more on that.
I could not agree with you more. Khalil, the entire world is watching, literally, as you are really taking off as it pertains to career and service to people. What do you want onlookers, young, old, male, female, what do you want the world to garner from your life, your experiences, and of course, your recent success, continued success?
That you can always that when you stand by certain principles and when you don't let go of those things that keep you and have guided your life, when you stay true to yourself, that even when you serve without expecting anything in return, that you will have the opportunity, that you will be given opportunities that you don't even see coming. And that equally, when you are given opportunities, I have been the beneficiary of several opportunities over the last 18 years of my life, for which I'm immensely thankful. But that getting opportunities like I have and like many others have is it makes it incumbent upon you, it imposes a duty upon us to see how best we can serve other people, how best we can use that opportunity and whatever gifts we have, our talents. If you're good at speaking, how you can speak and be the voice for other people who are not able necessarily always to speak for themselves. So then that really is what I think we need to focus on a lot more in this world, being true to yourself as well as using the gifts that you get not only for yourself but to help those around you. And I hope that at the end of my tenure, and that far into the future, that is something that I can leave, a mark that I can leave, the commitment to that
Beautiful.
ideal.
Thank you so much for that. Now, I want to get into a little bit of your background. How did you even get into activism and the political arena?
I've always for as long as I can remember, I have been interested in politics, and that started out from a very young age. I started to read the newspaper. I know a lot of young people don't read the newspaper, but as you can see behind me, I've always been interested in reading. And so the newspaper really gave me a love for current affairs. And of course, a very big part of current affairs is politics. And so I quickly became involved in politics and following political parties, political leaders, and so on, familiarizing myself with political history. And so all of that added an interest, a very keen interest in politics and activism generally, because that's really my own perspective on politics. It isn't only about um, politics isn't about power, but it is
Mm.
about again seeing how you can use power to help other people. So all of those were early interests of mine, and that they have led me certainly to this point. I first spoke on a political platform at the age of 13. That was about 5 years ago now. And I have spoken on a number since then, many since then, and I write in the newspapers on political and other issues, and otherwise try to contribute to political life. That doesn't mean that I personally want to run for elective politics or to be the Prime Minister of Barbados or anything like that. I haven't given that much thought. Right now, I'm focusing on my studies. I'm studying law, as you said, and also now this new pursuit as a senator. So I haven't really given much thought to entering elective politics myself, but certainly politics is always something that I've been very closely associated with.
Understood. Now, Khalil, the critics are going to be critics, and many of them have said the move by Prime Minister Motley to appoint you to the Senate is simply a political favor for your support to the Barbados Labour Party. Now, ahead of heading into the Senate, hopefully, with such heavy critics who say not only you're too young, they say it's just a political favor. What are your thoughts, and how do you, as a young professional, tackle such heavy criticism?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of criticism. As I said, since 13 years old, I have been exposed to a lot of not even criticism, but sometimes very vociferous and attacks. One could say I'm used to it. But because equally, you also get very hearty support from people, and I always
Agreed.
appreciate both. I appreciate the support, and I also appreciate criticism, because even sometimes in the most vitriolic criticism, there can be something constructive or something legitimate. And I take whatever there is for me to get, because it's all about improving and developing yourself, even if it's not criticism that's meant in the most kindest of ways. There may be something you can learn. So that's how I treat to that. But I just don't let either support or praise or criticism really penetrate my psyche, because support and praise can also be harmful to a person. It can make them, self-important or arrogant or whatever. And I'm very conscious of that. So I guard against being too upset about the criticism or too happy about the praise. And I just try to focus on what I'm about and focus on my plans, and certainly why I'm there and what I intend to do. In terms of my being a supporter of the Barbados Labour Party, the reality is that I like everyone else in Barbados, freely associate with the political party that I want. That is a decision that I came to several years ago, in a reasonable way, because I really feel that they are the best choice for Barbados. And so that, in this country, and in this region, we don't have a large population. And what we can't afford to do is to throw away people or become too tribal and say that we can't
Right.
use this person because they support this party, or we can't use that person because they support another political party. We're too small. And I am committed to working with people who are competent, people who have merit, people who have a love for this country, for Barbados, and for this region. And whether that means that you're a supporter of the government, of the opposition, or you support no one, or anything at all, we have to move past that, and particularly for our young people, and not be so quick to label our young people as one thing or the next.
Wonderful. I have to ask your thoughts on a few very important issues. Some may be of concern to residents in Barbados, but what are your thoughts on issues like abortion, same-sex marriage, and decriminalization of marijuana?
Yeah, certainly. For Barbados, in terms of the liberalization of abortion and so on, that was done many decades ago, back in the 1980s, I believe. Um,
Okay.
that was decriminalized. The country is moving towards decriminalization of marijuana. We have done so already. This government has done so already in terms of medicinal marijuana. The position of the Prime Minister, and it's a position I agree with, is that in terms of recreational use, that should and will go to a referendum. It is an issue that there is a lot of, I'm not sure about the Virgin Islands, but there is a lot of debate in Barbados. And sometimes that
Likewise.
debate is along generational lines, along lines of age. I'm sure it's the same thing in Virgin Islands. So, because it's such a contentious issue, it really shouldn't be left only to the parliamentarians, the members of parliament and the senators, but really that should go to a referendum. And likewise, with in terms of same-sex marriages and so on, I think that the key thing that we always have to recognize, that although these matters are going to a referendum, and the people will have the opportunity to have their say, that there is no place in Barbados or in any other part of the world for discrimination against anyone on any grounds, and that it matters not whether you agree with a particular person on a particular part of on a particular opinion they have or part of their life or so on, but that on any basis, whether that is age, gender, religion, race, sexual orientation, disability or ability, anything, that has no place in our society. And sometimes these issues can become very personal and difficult for some people, but we really ought to be able to have these conversations in an atmosphere that is free of discrimination. And that is something that I am committed to, and I know that young people in Barbados certainly are equally committed.
Amazing. Young leadership in the 21st century. You mentioned about really being a representation, but whether you are appointed to the Senate or not, what are some key areas in hindsight, 2020 being hindsight, what are some key areas you plan to tackle, whether it is sitting on the Senate seat or whether it is as a resident?
Yeah, in terms of I have certain areas of interest, and many of those are areas that we have the ability to make certain decisions on today, but that really and truly the impact of those decisions will be felt for a long time. And I'm talking about things, as you know, like issues like climate change and environmental issues. Barbados right now is really leading from out front internationally when it comes to our advocacy. And I really hope to add my voice to that. But apart from advocacy, also to add my voice to the lobby for all of us, including us in Barbados, to do even more in terms of action in respect of climate change and environmental issues. We've done a lot for a small island state and as a region, but there's always more we can do. And also to do with things like education reform. Barbados has an education system that has not really been substantially reformed since we got our independence in 1966. And that is a challenge because the reality is that the Barbados and the world in the 1960s is not Barbados and the world in 2022, I'm sorry. And so that we need an education system that's fit for purpose, and not only an education system, but a system of assessing our students of examinations. I think that we have to move beyond standardized testing and move beyond placing our students into boxes so early in life. Those are things I know that the Prime Minister and her government are committed to, and those are things I have been advocating on before this proposal, and certainly after, I will continue in that vein.
Wonderful. Khalil, I want to take the opportunity to, first of all, again, wish you congratulations on even just being considered for this very important role at a very important time in the history of your nation and our world. We commend you here in the Virgin Islands, and we do sincerely wish you the very best as you execute your duties if and when you are appointed to the Senate House. When you think of young professionals, you are a leading example across the region to what a voice can do and how far the young leadership can take our territory. So I want to thank you so much for your time, and we wish you continued success.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Viewers, that was the one and only Khaleel Kothdiwala out of Barbados. He is poised to be the youngest senator that is from Prime Minister Mia Mottley. She intends to appoint him to the Senate House, and that will be finalized. We will know whether or not that takes place very shortly. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. To our residents and friends, of course, across the region, thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.